Joining us now on the line is Ann Coulter, the author of the best-selling book In Trump We Trust. Ann, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Oh, it's great to talk to you. I always learn something when I call into your radio show. That part you were just reading about the owner of the restaurant, is that true?
Yes.
Following Sarah Sanders and heckling her as she tried to go to tried to leave the restaurant?
That's what Mike Huckabee said this morning on Laura Ingram's show.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. I mean, could she get a 209A restraining order on this woman? I mean, at what point do you, I mean, this is like, what would happen if the Christian bakery owners in Oregon had followed the gay couple? Ann.
Wow. I mean, part of me is I suspect this sort of thing sometimes happens to you in Boston. It certainly happens to me. In a way, I'm really glad this is getting attention so people can see the true face of liberalism.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Ann, I'm gonna read you something now. This is not a violent illegal alien story, but I think you're going to appreciate it
Anyway.
Yeah, I think you'll appreciate it. This is from the U.S. Attorney in Rhode Island, Providence, and the headline is: 2 Dominican nationals detained for possession of fraudulent credit card ID document manufacturing equipment. And this is a full-service Dominican operation here, Ann. Listen to this. The officer also saw this Pawtucket. The officer also saw a box addressed to Juan Rodriguez, which contained a homemade ATM-style card reader and a DHL package containing American Express signature stickers similar to those used on the backs of credit cards. In a trash barrel, an officer observed an American Express card and a Connecticut driver's license. A Pawtucket police officer conducted a query of the Connecticut driver's license number and learned there was no record of that number on file. The items seized by police included at least 7 laptops, skimming equipment used to steal credit and debit card information at gas pumps, a mobile credit card reader, the apparent inside of an ATM machine, a photo ID card printer, numerous flip phones, a laminating machine, color printers, numerous flash drives, other card readers, card scanners, blank checks, box of identification holograms used to make driver's licenses from the states of Wyoming, Georgia, Indiana, New Jersey, Louisiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Mississippi, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, Tennessee, and Connecticut, 3 Dominican passports in the names of other individuals, numerous blank credit cards with chips, paper cutter, color ribbons, and numerous other items commonly used in the creation of fraudulent identification documents and access devices. Your dreamers in the news, Ann, today.
I've pointed this out before, but I think it can't be said often enough. These aren't the kinds of crimes that are committed by American criminals. Our criminals, we've always had kind of an advantage, which helps law enforcement. They tend to be dumb, impulsive, quick to violence. There'll be like a carjacking, a mugging, not too many home invasion burglaries because, thank God, we're an arms nation. They'll be lying, in wait in the bushes and jump out and rape you, or a drunken argument. We don't have smart criminals who are putting together these vast, complicated, identity theft, or, as we've seen quite a bit of, the theft of from Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. You wonder why all these government programs are going bankrupt. Look up the list of offenders sometime. You will not find an American name.
Well, there are a few, but you got a lot of people applying for SSI or SSDI in West Virginia, places like that. No,
it isn't just applying for it. I'm talking about multi-million-dollar frauds. Remember, very big up in the Detroit area, up in Detroit, lots of the Arab doctors submitting false Medicare and Medicaid claims. Remember, there was one guy who was submitting all of his patients to chemotherapy that they didn't need because they didn't have cancer, just so he could get the reimbursements.
I remember. How about the fake?
The Detroit office.
How about the fake limbs? Remember that one? There's been several of those where the guy was putting in for fake limbs for all of his patients, even though they didn't need it. That's
this is a specialty of the immigrants we're bringing in. I think there is There is a website, I forget the name of it. I'm sorry, I'll have it for you next week. But where you can watch people's responses to these scamsters calling on the phone, trying to get usually, some poor old person to turn over credit card or checking account information. They say they're from the IRS and you're going to owe all this money, but if you'll just, run down to the ATM or whatever it is, however you send money electronically, right away and send in this $30,000 payment, and some poor old lady is worried she's going to be busted by the IRS and have to owe all these fines. And they go and they do it. Well, luckily, we have some wonderful Americans who are answering these phone calls and tormenting the scamsters at the other end of the line, which they then videotape and put on the web, and it's a wonderful thing to watch. You will notice every single one of the scamsters is Indian. Every single one.
And 508 says, what are you talking about, Ann? We have smart criminals. What about the Clintons?
Touche. Although in that case, it wasn't so much smart as criminals with the entire mainstream media on their side. I was just doing a podcast that's going to go up on Slate about Clinton and, the Clinton years. And what I really, I don't know if you remember this at the time, they kept saying, oh, you just don't like his policies, which is such nonsense. His policies were basically felonious obstruction of justice. He signs the welfare bill. He only bombed foreign countries when he needed to distract from his impeachment or something. He was really moderate, third way, I'm going to reform entitlements Democrat. What was so enraging about him was that he was perfectly happy to insult the intelligence of 49% of the public, to fool 51% of the public, and boy, was our media anxious to be fooled.
I think it's more like 51%. I don't think he ever got a majority of the votes, did he, Ann? I mean, even when he was basically running against Dole, I don't think he went over 50%. Because Perot was still running, and he drained off a few votes.
You're probably right. You're right. I don't think he ever got 50%.
Yeah.
But boy, everyone in the media hung on his every word.
Boy, they sure did. Yeah.
And attacked anyone who wanted to sue him or tell the truth about him or his lovely wife Bruno.
Hey, Ann, I got to ask you about the Time magazine cover. How bad was that?
How quickly was I redeemed saying all these humanitarian cases are complete crap? They absolutely are complete crap. They're either frauds that have been proved to be frauds or frauds we haven't proved yet, as I described in Adios America. And I'm not trying to sell the book, but it's all there. Very useful book to read. All of these asylees, as soon as they make the news, they make a spectacle of themselves somehow. They get in the news, and then, a reporter goes back and checks, how did this person get in the country? And it's always a scam. It's always a scam. And here we have this woman, of course, not exposed by the American media. No, we have to rely on the foreign press
Daily
to
Mail.
tell the story.
Yeah, the London
of the
tabloid.
girl on the cover of Time magazine, happily married. Apparently not that happily. She's another adventurous who wanted to live the American dream.
She had $6,000 lying around that she could pay a coyote to take her and the kid across for the second time, which makes her an accused felon. Because she's crossing the border for the second time. That's a felony. Yes,
not only that, but this is what you just said is part of the reason basically all of the humanitarian cases are frauds. If you have the wherewithal to show up on our border, then life really isn't so bad where you're coming from. I mean, usually like this woman, they're coming from middle-class families where their country is. They come to America for a wedding. The guy, Amadou Diallo, whose asylum application approved, was only looked at when he was shot by cops in New York City in 1999. You remember that? Bruce Springsteen had a song about it. Because he didn't know that when cops are pointing guns at you, best course is to put your hands up and not reach in your pockets. He also looked amazingly like the rapist they were looking for that night. They didn't find the rapist for another couple of years, and my jaw dropped when I saw the guy's picture. New York Times did not play that up. But anyway, he grew up in a wealthy family. He had traveled the world. He was from a different country than the country he even claimed to be from, and he contributed to America by selling tube socks on the street of New York and living off the taxpayer. Every time these people get in the news, we find out, oh yeah, that was a scam.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's so. What do you make of Donald Trump saying that we need to have no hearings for these people before we deport them? I mean, this is the kind of stuff you've been wanting him to say. I mean, he can't do anything about it without Congress.
Of course he can. Of course he can. Would you stop blaming Congress for him not keeping any of his promises on immigration? This is why we wanted a wall. This entire crisis is because he betrayed his supporters and did not build a wall. We're now at day 519. He has not broken ground. Maybe he didn't know what the words meant. He's just like a monkey saying this, but he noticed that the crowd used to cheer. But the crowds cheering for that knew what they were cheering for, knew that this is the precise reason we wanted a wall, so we don't have to go through this every single day of our lives. The president not only has the full authority to build the wall, there seems to be no doubt in Washington, in the swamp, that, oh, sure, a president can randomly bomb foreigners throughout the Middle East and in Afghanistan, but can the president, the commander-in-chief, protect our borders? Howie, this is a joke. Of course, it's the first job of the president to defend our borders.
Do you think he doesn't want it? Ann, do you think he doesn't want to have a wall? Do you think he wants to be going through this, having the country inundated with these criminals and these beggars every day of the year, like you say?
Why hasn't he broken ground on the wall?
I don't know.
You can psychoanalyze him. Is he just a flim-flam artist? Was the whole thing always a joke?
No.
Did he just want to make Jared the president? I don't know, but I know we don't have a wall, and this is why we wanted a wall, so we don't have to keep going through this. He has full authority to build a wall. He has full authority to say, you're not coming in.
Hey, what do you think Congress should do if they don't turn over the FBI doesn't turn over the documents, and that Devin Nunes has given them a deadline at 5:00 tonight? I haven't heard anything I haven't seen anything on the wires. Yeah, he gave them a deadline.
They should probably hold them in contempt and demand the arrest of all the Department of Justice officials in this one case. They did it with Eric Holder, but you're not going to get, the Attorney General of Washington, D.C. to arrest a Democrat Attorney General or a Democrat Deputy Attorney General or whomever. I guess it's the...
well, I would assume there's a Republican U.S. attorney now, right? I would think that wouldn't be.
I think it would be. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it would be his job if Congress holds. Who are they holding in contempt?
I think Rosenstein and Ray.
Christopher Ray.
Yeah, Rosenstein and Ray are the ones they've demanded the documents from.
Oh, I would love for them to be in prison. Jail.
I would too. Okay, we got a break. Ann Coulter, thank you for being with us. We'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm Howie Carr.